Tonight, we continued our discussion on charity, focusing again that this is the only command that a Jew is allowed to test God. What's the test? Why the test? The import of charity God says, test me, go for it. This is the command that's going to bring Mashiach. This is the command that even Noachites are completely obligated in. In this command, we can give even more than 20%. It's that important. And what should we do to protect ourselves from the challenge of wealth, to be able to receive that blessing and use it properly? If you know someone who could benefit, please share. This is meant for all. So we, for the past 2 weeks, have been discussing charity. We're going to continue that discussion now, but any things have changed for you over the past 2 weeks in terms of charity based on our talks? Anybody had any questions based on our talks? Anyone was doing anything different based on our talks? Rachel?
Try to figure out based on what income I should be doing. Should it be like a tax reform or?
So your income is whatever, let's say like maybe you have, let's say because you're retired, your income would be your pension and your Social Security. So then you would look at the total of that. And maybe if you have investments, then that creates a certain amount of money generated, then you could put that in. But let's just make it simple for most retired people. They have a pension, they have a Social Security, they might have other things, whatever is generating for you money, that's the total from which you're creating a percentage, and that money you're giving to charity. Now, when we do this percentage, you can do it off, if you know that, which might be a little more complicated if you're retired and it's not taken off directly, but you could give your charity off your net earnings and not your gross. In other words, if you're earning $100, but Uncle Sam gets 25, then you're not really getting 100, you're really getting 75. Mm-hmm. So from the amount you're getting, then whatever your percentage would be, it will be from that amount.
So tax return is good, probably.
Yeah. If you look at your tax returns, then you would say, if next year is going to be like last year, I'm projecting that I have a certain fixed income, and whatever I earned last year is what I will be earning this year. You could take that as the total for the 12 months and then figure it out that way. Yeah, you could do that if that works for you. Absolutely. Anyone else have any questions that got raised in their mind from our 2 weeks of discussing charity, or any things they've done differently because of that? Rivka?
Yeah, I am. And Rachel and I were talking about it. I said, I did calculations, and I now I have a file. And I'm going to, I figured out the percentage, and I am going to pay more attention to it, so it would be the percentage that I figured out.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. And as we've been emphasizing, I think it came up for the past 2 weeks, when you do a percentage, you could say, well, what if I'm giving almost the same amount of money? It doesn't make a difference. But it's a percentage now. It's affecting the entire totality of the money and the totality of the time spent to earn all the money from which a sum was created, from which this percentage emerged. So that's the beauty. That's why it's so powerful to do a percentage and to be careful with the percentage instead of saying, oh, I give, I'm generous, I give, I don't have such calculations, I'm not so good at calculations. Sometimes people say, I can't. No, it's worth it. Like Rivka's saying, she made a file, she calculated it, she crunched the numbers, she figured it out. She figured out the system that works for her. We all have our systems. I told you mine's very simple. Some people have lots of different systems. You do whatever works for you. But again, once we're doing this percentage, it gives such spiritual power to the totality of the money and the totality of the hours spent earning all of the money, which is why it's so important. Anyone else? Anybody else? Any changes or thoughts or questions from our discussion the past 2 weeks? Well, as I said before, I love seeing all these faces. Amazing. Rena?
Hi, Cyril. I worked so hard last year and I got bonus. Should I do charity?
Mm-hmm.
The same 10%?
Yes. And this is the good news, Rena. If you're going to give that charity from the bonus, And God willing, this year you'll get an even bigger bonus.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, will do. Thank you, Sarah.
Yes. Yes. It is truly, and that was actually the last point we were saying. So Rena's raising a very important point, which is it's hard. We work hard for our money. And I would say all of us, or at least most of us, have a lot of things that money has to go to. So we work hard for the money, and we have a lot of expensive that need that money. And then God says, cut it off and give it away. Whatever it is, again, minimally 10%, more. It's like, I worked so hard and I need it. And that's why this is the only commandment a Jew is allowed to test God. It's literally the verse, you can test me in this. God's even saying, please test me. Because God's saying, I want you to test me because I want you to see how I come through. What is the test? As we said last week, the test is the money you're going to create. The test is not anything else. You cannot say, I'm giving charity, and tomorrow I want to ace my test or my driving license, or this sick person I want to get better, or all those things. Charity is a great power, and you can give charity for any and all of those things. You can give charity that you should pass your test. You can give charity that you should get your license. You can give charity that the sick should be healed. For sure, charity is very powerful, but none of that's the test of charity. Meaning none of those things you can say, well, God, if you're real, if you're out there, this is the test. This person has to get better. That means, yes, it's all about you. And if they don't, no, it's not. No, that's not our test. The only test of charity is the charity creating the money. And the money is based on your percentage. So we go back to the percentage concept. So if you give 10% and you earned $100, or you got your $100 bonus, which is also your earnings. You got your $100 and you say, I give 10%, so I'm giving $10 to charity. The test is that $10 should create for me 100. If I give 20%, that $10 is going to create for me 50. If I give 10%, that $10 is going to create for me 100. So it's very much based on whatever God knows, whatever my percentage is, that's the test. And many people give charity that way, which means most people, a high majority of people, money earned, their percentage, money given, God creates. You earned 100, you give 10%, you give $10, God creates another 100. You earn another 100, you give 10%, you give $10, God creates another 100. That's how many people give charity. That's not how I give charity. And it's very interesting because this year, some WhatsApp video was flying around that I actually didn't even really see. But a lot of people are talking about it, where the Lubavitcher Rebbe speaks about a different way of giving charity, and that's actually how I've been doing it for years and years and years and years, like probably almost 30 years. How do I give charity? I don't give charity based on the money I earn. I give charity based on the money I need. Meaning, my thought is like this. If I'm earning $100, and let's say I give 10%, and I give $10, that will create another 100. But let's say I need a lot more than $100. I'm getting 100, but I need a lot more than 100, so that's not helping me enough. So instead of me calculating, I remember at a certain point many years ago, I had this shift in my brain. I'm like, why am I giving charity off the money I earn? I should give charity off the money I need. So instead of giving the charity off the money I earned, I started thinking, well, projecting, how much do I need for the year? And from the amount I need for the year, I created my percentage. And from that, I created my charity. And from that created the money. And I will say that God is very faithful. He's very creative. He's very faithful. I don't think too much about money. I don't worry about money. I have no clue how my money comes in, but somehow God, with his creativity, always makes sure it comes in. Now, one thing in terms of monies and charity, because since Rena asked about the bonus, I do want to say there is one time when you get money, you don't need to give charity off it. And that is if someone gives you money to buy something specific. Meaning if someone says, oh, winter's coming, I see your boots are all ripped. Here's a gift of $100 to buy yourself a pair of boots. You do not have to give charity off that money because it's as if they gave you boots, but they didn't know what your size is. They don't know what your color is. They don't know what you like. So they give you the money for the boots or for a coat or for chairs or for computer. So since our sages say that's just like them giving you the object, but instead of giving you the object, they gave you the money for you to get the object, so you get the right object. So in such a situation, if you're gifted with money and it's designated for a purpose, then you do not have to give charity off that money. If you were gifted with money and it was not designated for a purpose, then you do need to give charity. If someone just said, oh, you're such a wonderful person, here's a gift, which is, so to speak, sort of like the bonus concept, then you do have to give charity because it's not designated. It's like any other money you've earned or received. But if it's designated for a specific purpose, then you don't give charity off it because it's like getting that item. This idea of charity is spiritually so important. And again, that's why we're allowed to test. Now, again, the test isn't backwards. Like a lot of people are spending a lot of money, or they're being conservative. So they're just spending $1 or $2 on this lottery that maybe many of you spent money on. Not me. I'm like, if God wants to give me money, he'll figure out another way of doing it. But I think most people in America aren't thinking like me. And many people might be saying, God, if you give me this lottery, I'll do so many good things with that money. I'll give so much to charity, and which of course is beautiful. Of course, everyone who says it means it, but that doesn't count. Saying you're going to give doesn't count. You have to give, and then that creates the money. Now, we're saying that this is such an important commandment, and that's why God is allowing you to test him in this. And it's really important for many reasons. And one is in terms of bringing the redemption, in terms of bringing Mashiach. Because Mashiach comes by our refining the physicality, our refining our animal soul. Every time we serve God, a bit of my animal soul, a bit of the physical world is invested in that service. If I'm eating food, well, that's got food, that's my body digesting the food, that's my animal soul involvement in the food. And then I make a blessing, I use the energy to serve God. So that piece of my animal soul is elevated. And so too with everything else I do in the physical world. But when I'm earning money, as Rena just said, she had to work hard to get that bonus. She had to work hard to earn her money. And guess what? Most of us have to work hard. We might earn a lot of money, we might earn little money, but whatever we're earning, that doesn't usually make that much of a difference. We all still need to work hard for our money. So when we're working for our money, we're investing our whole self in there. So therefore, my whole animal soul, because my whole physical exertion, my whole self is being squeezed with my work. So when I give charity, and as we've explained many times already, it's my whole self to create the money from which I'm giving the percentage. So that whole self-involvement is now elevated by the commandment, which means with this one act of charity, it's shifting things so much faster than anything else. Again, I eat the food, that part of my animal self involved in eating. Yes, it's a very animalistic thing to eat, so I probably have a lot of animal soul investment. Goes up to God when I eat kosher food, when I make a blessing before, when I make a blessing after, when I use the energy to serve God. I'm getting dressed in a modest way. I'm getting dressed as God wants me to. I'm getting dressed modestly. So all that part of my animal soul and physical self that's involved with my clothing and my dress goes up to God when I'm dressing modestly, when I'm getting dressed in a modest fashion. But it's still a part. The part of myself involved in dressing, the part of myself involved in eating. We might think my whole self is involved in eating. That's actually a part. But when I'm working, it's my whole self. So if my whole self is involved in the working, then my whole self gets elevated to God when I give charity for the money I earn. So with this one act of charity, we're Americans. We like things to be efficient, fast. We look at the bottom line. This is the fast, efficient bottom line. Nothing shifts me, the physical world, my physical self, my animal self. Nothing moves it faster than giving charity. And that's why the sages say, great is charity that it hastens the redemption. Why does charity hasten the redemption more than visiting the sick, being careful not to gossip, being honest in your business dealings? Those are all very good things. Those are all things God wants, and do all of them. But great is charity that it hastens the redemption. because charity specifically moves big chunks of self, of animal self, of the physical world, more than any other command, faster than any other command, and therefore has such a potent force in terms of bringing redemption. And charity, again, is so important that not only Jews are obligated in charity, non-Jews, God also wants to give charity. A Noachide, a non-Jew that's serving God, is obligated to give charity, is obligated to be concerned to helping the poor and needy. It says Sodom and Gomorrah, which is actually this week's Torah portion, is actually happening right now, the Torah portion discussing the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Why were they destroyed? Because of their refusal to help the destitute. They outlawed charity. They outlawed helping the poor. That's why they were destroyed. Now, Sodom and Gomorrah were not Jewish towns. There was no Jews then. The only Jew was Avram and Sarah, Abraham, Sarah, that's it. These are non-Jews, and they have an obligation to give charity because charity is so important. The whole world needs to give charity. Charity is supposed to be something our world does, and it really directly affects our life and our prosperity. There's many letters with the Lubavitcher Rebbe where he says, oh, you're complaining, you're losing money. Check your charity of the past year. If it's less than it was in the past, why are you complaining? Why do you think you were given money to give charity? If you're not giving money, obviously you're not giving the charity, obviously you're not gonna have the money. What's the question? Now, there is a concept in the Talmud that some people wonder about in terms of seemingly a cap on giving charity. It says in the Talmud, I've already mentioned a number of times this idea of giving a percentage, and the minimal is 10%, and all of the leaders from the Baal Shem Tov down, all the Hasidic leaders of Chabad always say to give 20. The current Lubavitcher Rebbe says to give more than 20. But it says in the Talmud that someone who's going to squander his money with charity should not squander more than 20%. So many people take that to mean, many religious Jews take that to mean that the cap, the ultimate amount of charity you can give is 20, like minimally 10, max 20, and not a penny more. God doesn't let. That's how many people misunderstand that piece of Talmud. But again, from the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement down, all of him and his successors all speak about this issue, almost all speak about this issue, and they all say, no, that is not what it means. So the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, said, if we look at the Hebrew, this only works in the Hebrew, so trust me on this, that the word that the Talmud uses is like spoils. And the Baal Shem Tov said this alludes to a fight. There are spoils of war after a fight. So if you have to fight with yourself to give charity, well, stop at 20%. Don't fight any more than that. But if you're enjoying it, if it's a pleasure, why should you deprive yourself of this pleasure more than any other pleasure? Keep going, enjoy. The founder of Chabad Hasidus, the Alter Rebbe, whose work, the Tanya, we studied, speaks about charity many times in Tanya. And the Alter Rebbe says about this 20% cap, that if a person is very pure, they're only giving charity for God, they're only giving charity because God says, stop at 20. But if you're human and normal, and you've sinned, and maybe you didn't completely repent or you never finished repenting, you need to give charity. Charity is our spiritual medicine. And the Alter Rebbe said, we don't save money on medicine. Even if you don't have money, a person should never say, well, I'm sick, but I can't afford medicine. God forbid. You don't skimp on any other medicine. Don't skimp on spiritual medicine. You're giving way more than 20%. Well, if you have some sins on record, you need a lot of spiritual medicine, give more than 20%. Third Rebbe of Chabad, Tzemach Tzedek, said that when you help a Jew by giving charity, and you help him that he can support himself, even if you're giving a very small amount of money, all the heavenly chambers open up. The fourth Lubavitcher Rebbe said that, it's called Rav Maharash, says that it says in the Talmud that there was a certain great person, his name was Rabbi Eliezer, who will give charity to the poor and then daven. Because davening needs to be done with vitality. So when you give charity to the poor before you pray, before you daven, you're giving the poor life. This adds life to your prayers. From here we see, and I think we mentioned this last week, it's very important to give charity before you pray and before you say psalms. Because again, when you're giving charity, you're giving life, and this adds life to your prayers, adds life to your psalms. The fifth lecture, the Rashab said that sometimes people have a strong sense, a gift, that they're sensitive to helping others. Some people so much appreciate helping others, they care more about helping others than helping themselves. Because for yourself, you could say, okay, maybe I don't deserve it, maybe I did something wrong. But for someone else, you're just going to say, God, why are you making this poor person suffer? So a person like that, which is of course the ideal Jew, because as Jews, we're supposed to be very sensitive and very caring about the needs of other people. So a person like that has such pleasure in giving charity. He feels so good when he gives charity because there's someone who's suffering. There's someone in an unfortunate situation that he can alleviate their pain somewhat, and that makes him feel really good. The sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, said that wealth could be happiness on one side and tragedy on the other. It's a tremendous challenge. When you know what to do with wealth and you use it properly, you use it for God, you use it for charity, you use it to help Torah, you're blessed in this world, you're blessed in the next. When you don't know what to do with wealth, when you use it for forbidden things, we get a lot of problems. I can definitely say, as a teacher, as an educator, I'm always impressed when I see students that come from wealthy homes and you'd never know it, because that's quite challenging. That shows very, very good parenting. It's a very great challenge. In 1955 on Purim, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, current Lubavitcher Rebbe, had a talk, and he spoke very strongly about the tremendous challenge of wealth. And then after this very strong talk on how challenging wealth is, the Rebbe said, who wants to be wealthy? Now here you are. First of all the other Hasidim, all your other peers are in the same room with you. You're doing this publicly. And the Rebbe has just said how challenging wealth is. So most people didn't raise their hand. They didn't raise their hand because after everything the Rebbe said, they were like, whoa, I don't know if I can handle that challenge. Or even if they wanted to raise their hand, they're probably like embarrassed. About 5 people raised their hand. From this whole room of people, about 5 people raised their hand when the Rebbe said, who wants to be wealthy? And all of those 5 became very wealthy. Everyone else, again, if you're too scared or embarrassed, I guess you can't handle that challenge. So if you would want this challenge, if you feel, yes, I would want this challenge of wealth, any ideas of what you could do now before you receive this gift to ensure you don't fail your test then? Any thoughts on that? What could you do to ensure that when God would give you this gift of wealth, it wouldn't go in bad places, it wouldn't corrupt you, it wouldn't corrupt your family, it would be a healthy, good, godly tool? Any thoughts of what someone would need to put into place beforehand to make sure that would work?
They're saying, so Baruch Hashem, we live modest, we live good, we have everything we need. Toda Lael. So yeah, if I won a lottery, what I would do with it?
No, that wasn't my question.
So
did you buy a ticket, Rachel?
So what's no?
You didn't buy a ticket. No, I'm not the only one who didn't buy a ticket.
So what is the question?
My question is, if God's going to give you the blessing of wealth, and wealth, we just said, is a tremendous blessing, but it could also be a very negative force. Depends if you're handling it properly. So what would you think you would do now? What could you put in place now to make sure that when God gives you that challenge, that tremendous gift, you would handle it properly?
Well, my husband has many dreams of building for the needy, studios, helping them. I mean, anytime I see a person that is in need, like my heart goes out, and there are so many people, just like I said, Baruch Hashem, we live good. We don't need anything. I would definitely take care of others who needs it. And there are so many. There is
So
so
you're
much.
saying, what I'm thinking, what you're saying is maybe before God gives you all that wealth, what helps you win the lottery that you didn't buy a ticket for, you you already would be planning exactly how to use the money and help people. So when the money would come to you, you know exactly where it's going. You wouldn't get distracted by, oh, maybe I should buy this, or maybe I should do this. No, I know where it's going. I have this vision. I have it all scoped out. I know what I need to do with this. I know why God is giving it to me. That makes a lot of sense.
We do have projects that if we had the money, we would do it. Absolutely.
Anyone else? Rivka?
There is this, I think it's Talmud says that a wealthy person starts trusting his money and less trusting God. So that's where the danger is. So if you have a highly Torah observant home, a Torah observant, observing halacha, there is much less, there is much a higher possibility that you would pass the test of wealth.
Because you're saying your whole life is already creating a life connected with God and trusting God, and therefore this challenge of trusting money instead of trusting God, you're saying you've built into your life those supports.